you may permanently fuck your natural status for life just to understand that you cannot take 95% of anabolics. I look at my shirt and there's no joke, 50 hairs just chilling on my shirt. I can't do the DHTs. They're just not going to, bode well with what I want in life, which is hair. All right, YouTube, guys, I missed a week. I'll be honest, okay? I missed a week, I know, but we're back. We're locked in. I'm with Isaac, okay? And the reason for this is a little bit of an excuse, I'll be honest, okay? But I hurt my back. Super strange thing. I was foam rolling at like 7 in the morning. Body was super cold. Obviously, I just slept for like 9 hours. So I woke up, I'm foam rolling. I go to get up, boom, back totally seizes up right in like the mid back, kind of where the lower back meets, or where the erectors meet the lower traps. It like binds, and I was basically fucked. So the cramp started seizing and I couldn't really move for like an hour. So that was a hell of a way to wake up about a week and a half ago, and then had to recover. Actually went to the doctor, which is very rare for me. I almost never go to the doctor, but went there. I was like, dude, what the fuck is going on? And then, had to rest for 5 days. I was pretty much on the couch, and then slowly working my way back into doing cardio and training like every other day. But we're feeling good. And if you've been following me on Instagram, you know that we're still pretty locked in, all right? It just required many more zero carb days than I would prefer through the recovery process, but we're locked in. And as I've been alluding to, I've been promising for weeks, we're gonna talk about my experience with PEDs, what I've done so far, and really just have a debrief, an overview of the first cycle as a whole, and things that I would like to share, and overall just my experience, because obviously being natural for 5.5 years and then going enhanced, I'm sure it's something that you would like to know about as well. So we're gonna sit down and get into it. Pretty much just gonna do this off the top, try and keep it more naturally flowing. I can't really show you like the hard PDFs of what was written out, what was involved, because it is not property of my own. It belongs to my coach, Sebastian Burka. So preface this by saying shout out to Sebastian for helping me and guiding me through this process. And additionally, none of the sponsors that I work with promote this message. And also, it is all hypothetical. None of this is true. Nothing is real, all right? So we'll get into it. So natural for 5.5 years. There was a point leading into my last prep where I thought it might be time to go enhanced. I decided against this, as I talked about a lot in those videos. If you would like to reference back, I believe it's called Addressing My Natty Status. We could probably put a card in. We never do cards in the videos, but we'll put a card in to that where I pretty much explain how I did want to stay natural for my first prep. This is 100% across the board, bare minimum, what I would recommend. I don't think that you should take PEDs before at least understanding that this is the lifestyle that you want to live, and this is something that you truly are capable of doing and enjoy doing on both ends, right? Whether you're dieting, whether you're trying to grow, whether you're in a potentiation phase, whatever the case is, it obviously is a big life change, right? Is a big decision. So just prefacing this with kind of my philosophy and my thought process as somebody who has given years and years and years of thought into this decision. There it is. Now, leading in, it was very important to me that I was 200 lean. And I made a video on this that we could put another card to called My Last Natty Transformation. And I truly believe that was the best natural physique I had ever accomplished. It took like 9 months to fully reach that point where I was happy with it. And that landed me in about June of this year, which is 2025. And I was ready to go enhanced. So I went flew down to see Sebastian. I spent a week with him and we devised a plan, which was a rather simple plan, guys. When you're doing your first cycle, you want to limit your variables as much as possible. You want to make everything that you're assessing, everything that you're trying to give feedback on, you want it to make it as clear as possible. So the game plan was we were going to run test only, and then we were going to introduce Anavar for the last 4 weeks. So I'll run you through the initial 12 weeks of starting, and then that time period of when I was going to start Anavar, what happened, what I experienced, and all of that. So around mid-June, I had my first pin, and from that point to 3 to 4 weeks following, I felt absolutely nothing. Life just felt completely normal. Training wasn't any different. Sleep wasn't any different. Literally nothing was different. I just felt like myself. Around 4 weeks in, I noticed it, right? I was like, okay, I look significantly different. Like I was fuller, I had more energy throughout the day. Obviously, I'm on this 4th of July trip with my family. My diet is out of whack, my schedule is out of whack, but my training was like through the fucking moon. And that was like the initial thing where I was like, okay, I definitely notice that things have changed. And overall, it pretty much is what you would expect. I was on about 325 milligrams of testosterone per week. And then as I referenced throughout the course of the video, how much testosterone I'm taking at certain times, my dosing frequency is every other day. So you would just divide this by 3.5 to figure out how much dose I was taking per day. So I was at 325 milligrams weekly at this point, and then we toggled up to 425 milligrams per week, split between obviously every other day dosing. And this, I want to say 6 to 8 week period felt great. Energy super high, training performance through the roof. My strength was up, everything was up, things of that nature. I mean, really, what else do you expect? It's pretty simple. Went from natural to taking testosterone. I felt great. Everything was pretty solid. And then it was around leading into, I want to say like the 10th to 11th week on time frame. The dose was set to toggle up again to 525 milligrams per week. And I started to feel a little bit shitty. And there's multiple things that go into this. Obviously, I can only get so detailed on this video without making it a 2-hour long just fucking yap session where I explain, oh, this day I woke up and I felt a little bit groggy. It's like, trying to keep this relatively condensed. So around the 10 to 12 week time frame, I started feeling a little bit shitty. All right. And the reason for this obviously was, well, there's multiple reasons, but one was fatigue. I was very fatigued, having all of this extra training energy, all of this extra oomph to my life. I was just doing a lot in the gym that I didn't necessarily need to be doing. And looking back, that is probably the one thing I would change, is just refine training a little bit, right? Kind of got ahead of myself, kind of got excited, started putting too much volume in, started training, overtraining, doing pump sets, things of that nature, and it caught up to me. And then the second thing was estradiol, right? So taking a pretty considerable amount of testosterone, my estrogen started to creep up. And those were the two contributing factors to this kind of general grogginess, tiredness, fatigue that I felt throughout this period. And yeah, so we ran my first round of blood work and everything came back pretty much as you would expect. Obviously, well, don't want to say obviously, but if you followed me for a while, you kind of know the attention to detail and the precision in which I have my approach whether that be health supplementation, whether that be food, sleep hygiene, lifestyle, pretty much everything from A to Z was locked in. So all of my health metrics looked great. What I'll just focus on here for this video, for simplicity's sake, is hormones. My total testosterone was at 3,038. My bioavailable testosterone was at 2,866. And my free testosterone was at 864, which, as you would expect, is pretty fucking high. Estradiol was at 82, and let me see if there's anything else I want to go over in particular. SHBG, 24, relatively low. Fasting cortisol, 11.8, relatively low. And then for sake of this video, thyroid was in a good spot. T3 free, T4, TSH, everything was in range. And overall, to be expected. I think, obviously, with the first cycle, it's probably going to be your most health sparing, right? It's where you're going to be in, generally speaking, your best spot, right? So there wasn't really too much to look at or go over here, but we did start an aromatase inhibitor at a relatively small dose. And I don't really want to get too into that just because of what the nuances there. But we did start controlling estrogen to a degree, not to a drastic degree because I felt relatively fine. But from that point on, implementing the AI, I felt better. Simply, estrogen was a bit high for me at 83, so pulling it down a bit helped. Relatively simple. Now, week 16, time to introduce Anavar. My timeline might be a little bit skewed here, bear with me, but it's time to start Anavar. Now, I was so excited for this, guys. I mean, as you can imagine, you know, like everyone talks about Anavar. It seems like the most amazing compound in the world, and frankly, it is a exceptionally good compound, pretty much across the board. The dosing here was 25 milligrams AM, 25 milligrams PM, 50 milligrams per day, and yeah, so leading in, I had started to notice some hair thinning. Now, I couldn't be 100% positive. Was my hair always of this nature? Am I actually thinning? Is my hair life cycle actually coming to a close to the point where miniaturization is occurring 12 weeks in? There were so many variables we didn't know, right? I got a lot of feedback from people around me, from my barber, from my coach, that it's probably in your head. Your hair looks pretty much the same. It's probably placebo, right? You are aware now that you are enhanced. So now every time you lose a hair, you're looking at it at your hand and you're overthinking it, right? Which totally makes sense. And I was personally not worried whatsoever. This is probably the biggest thing that I wish I knew leading in is if you've never experienced any hair loss, you're not gonna think, yeah, I'm gonna be the motherfucker who loses a bunch of hair on gear, right? It's not gonna be you. You're gonna be very optimistic going in, like, yeah, dude, I'm gonna take all the DHTs. I'm gonna fucking, have a great time. My hair is safe. I'm 21. My hair is safe. I've never lost any hair. This just didn't seem to be the case for me, all right? Because the first morning I took Anavar, I felt great, right? I'm sure, obviously, a good amount of that was placebo, of me just being like, this is the point where I get to fucking rev up the dose. I'm on the DHT. I'm going to start looking fucking freaky. So, without making it too long-winded, here's my very brief experience. I took my AM dose. I felt fine. I went to the gym. I had a great workout. There's actually a video on my Instagram of that particular workout. It was pretty fucking awesome. And I noticed when I was doing cardio post-workout, my head started to itch, and I was kind of scratching through my beats. And I just kind of chopped it up to humidity and sweat and whatever the case may be. Even though my hair's never itched, my scalp had a notable itch to it, okay? I'm like, okay, this is weird, but like, no big deal. So I'm in a sweat, I'm in the gym, in a very hot gym. The gym that you guys see me train at is a very warm environment, to say the least. So transitioning from the gym to my car, I notice my hair dries out to a drastic degree. And again, I'm just chopping this up to change in temperature, sweat, whatever. Guys, let me tell you, I'm eating my post-workout meal, okay? I'm eating my post-workout meal. Head still itches. I'm a little bit conscious of it. By the time I'm done with my meal, I look at my shirt, and there's no joke, 50 hairs just chilling on my shirt. And I hadn't been touching my hair, right? I'm eating. So in the process of me sitting down and eating, hairs are starting to fall out of my head. And I go like this, okay? Hair is extremely dry. I go like this. I look at my hands, must have been another 50. And you might be questioning, Austin, where are you getting this number from? I fucking sat there and counted, okay? I'm a very retentive person, yes. I took a pen and I put all the hairs onto my island, okay? And I drew and I like separated each hair. It was about like 112. Just there, all right? And this led into what I would say, not the best week, right? So I called my coach. I said, dude, I must have Winstraw. I must have some bullshit faked gear. This must not be Anavar, right? Anavar is safe, right? Women take Anavar. It's fine. He goes, huh? Yeah, no, I mean, it's probably Anavar, man. You're probably fucked. Just stop taking it. And there I was. It slowly started to set in. I can't do the DHTs. They're just not going to bode well with what I want in life, which is hair. So this commenced the next week or so of not the best week of the summer for me. I lost estimated numbers here, 400 to 500 hairs that day that I counted. I lost roughly 70 on my pillow overnight, roughly another 100 to 150 the 2 days following, and then it was pretty much 100, 100, 100. Now what you guys have to know is your body sheds hairs naturally, right? So you'll naturally lose anywhere from 30 to 50 hairs, and you don't even notice, all right? These are hairs that come off in the shower. These are hairs that come off on your pillow. These are hairs that come off in your car, right, when the windows are down. You don't notice them. This is your baseline hair loss, right? 20 to 50. Just put in that range. So when I say 100, these are 100 additional hairs. 100 hairs that I pull out of my head. And I look at my hands, and it's not covered. It's not clumped in hair, but there's a good amount, right? Enough to count, enough to say, oh, fuck, that's a lot today. And I remember, notably, I ended this week at one of my best friend's weddings, and I was in the wedding. And it was a great time, obviously, congrats to my friends. But I remember being very conscious, like, fuck, man, like, my hair looks like shit right now. So not like it ruined the day for me, but it was definitely something that was on my mind. So I just want to put this in here, guys. If you are natural, understand, if you go enhanced and you are very prone to androgenic alopecia, you may permanently fuck your natural status for life, just to understand that you cannot take 95% of anabolics. Okay? So I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just saying, be aware. I may never be natural again. Austin Cole, never going to be natty again. And not get the benefit of 95% of the stuff out there. You can pretty much run Test if you have a 5-AR inhibitor in, and DECA if you don't have a 5-AR inhibitor in. That's pretty much it when it comes to anabolics, okay? So just be aware. This is what I experienced, and it slowly started to sink in. I can't hang with this shit, and that sucks, obviously there's more that I could say, but yeah, that was my experience with Anavar. Took one pill, kind of fucking nuked me. Wasn't really my favorite experience, and so we decided to pull it. We closed out the next 4 weeks on 525 tests, dosed every other day, and it was fine. My hair pretty much stabilized. I still lost roughly 20 to 30 hairs per day that I could count, but it was nothing too extreme. Around the same time, I really dove into the topic of hair loss. Honestly, being a coach, being able to do research as part of my job, I went down the fucking rabbit hole. Okay, I really learned as much as possible. I think when things personally impact you, you know about them, right? So my gut health personally impacted at one point in my life. I'm very keen on gut health. Staying lean in the off season, staying lean when trying to grow muscle. This is not something I'm genetically gifted at. So I know very well, very nuanced options and abilities to maintain composition during the off season. And I think this is just true of life. So went on a deep dive about hair loss prevention and regain. And that is going to be a video to follow of its own. But from there, I want to say 12 to 16, pretty much just closed out on higher test and ran a assessment piece with my coach. How are you feeling? How is your fatigue? Now, the fatigue that I previously mentioned was significantly better because I stopped doing the junk volume. I stopped doing the pump workouts. I started resting 3 days a week instead of 2. And we pretty much mitigated and took care of that fatigue aspect. I said, Coach, I'm not gonna lie, I feel like $1 million. I feel great. From 16 to 20, we decided to close out the first cycle on a rather aggressive cut, which is what I will get into now, which is pretty much the last 6 weeks now, not including basically the last 2. We closed out the cycle with the aggressive cut with the idea of basically just getting lean as fuck. But I'm gonna take a quick intermission and then I'll run you guys through kind of the last 6 weeks here. And then also, which is where we picked up on the first YouTube video that I started making in this series, which was shoulders and arms. So pretty much what you guys have seen from 6 weeks ago until now, what I've been doing. All right, now we have the last 4-week period. Now, this is where shit got fun, in my opinion, right? Because eating lots of food, having ample amounts of energy at all times is great. But you don't really feel like you're challenging yourself. You don't really feel like you're getting that mental leg up on yourself every single day. So basically, I sat down with my barber. I said, boss man, am I good? He did a full comb through. He did a full look. He said, honestly, I can't notice any true miniaturization. I'm sure you shed off a lot of hairs, but you look pretty stable. And at the time, my hair was pretty stable. And with my hair protocol leading 4 weeks into this point, I felt pretty comfortable extending the cycle up to 20 weeks and getting shredded off of that tail end. So I called my coach. I said, dude, I'm too fat, too lazy. I need you to whip me into shape. I need to just do something different because I had been on a bulk for 54 weeks at this point. Now, obviously, there's a lot that goes into it. Deload weeks, fatigue management, body composition management, carb cycling, all of that shit. But I was like, dude, I've just been eating too much food for too fucking long. I need something new. But basically, I just had been doing the same exact thing for so long. I was like, I need something new. So we hopped on the call. We went over the game plan. It was going to be a aggressive cut. And aggressive it was, okay? This is not, obviously, this is not recommendation. Obviously, there's a lot of nuance that goes into this. Obviously, I'm not telling you to do this, and it didn't even happen, right? This is all fake. This is all make-believe, okay? So, with that being said, here is the game plan. We pretty much nuked every single added dietary fat from the diet. That was gone right away. You get enough trace fats from your meats, and yeah, that was the approach. Obviously, a more aggressive approach from a dietary standpoint. Nuked all the dietary fats, standardized protein intake, put all of my carbs, essentially all of my carbs, into the training window. And yeah, diet went from about 4,200 to about 2,700 on training day, went from about 3,000 on rest day to about 2,100 on rest day, starting out this cut. Now let's get into the metabolic enhancers, peptides, whatever you want to call it. We started at 35 minutes of cardio fasted 5 days per week. The way this was divvied up was I had one day that was rest cardio on training. The other day was rest cardio on legs. So I liked to do this because I still had some carbs on my rest day. So I had no issue doing cardio on rest day fasted and then going about my day as per normal. Steps were at 10,000. I accomplished these by doing the step pad after meals, 15 to 20 minutes on 2.4 speed after meals, and then the trace steps that I get throughout my day, such as cooking, going to the grocery store, walking around the gym, etc. I started Clen at 40 micrograms every day for the first week, and then 10 days in, bumped to 60. I started retatrutide, 1 milligram every 3 days, injectable L-carnitine, 1,000 milligrams pre-workout, 2,000 micrograms SLU-PP332, split fasted pre-cardio, 1,000 micrograms, 1,000 micrograms pre-workout with my L-carnitine. Test got lowered to 300 milligrams per week, so it was roughly 85 milligrams every other day, and 5 milligrams of yohimbine pre-fasted cardio. Pretty simple stuff with the yohimbine. Everything else, obviously, there's a lot to take in, but let me run you through the changes and let me basically elaborate on some of these compounds. 10 days into prep, diet, whatever you want to call it, Clen got bumped to 60 micrograms every day fasted. Cardio got bumped to 45 minutes, 5 days a week fasted. 18 days into prep, took a relatively moderate food drop. We basically just took some food from the post-workout meal. Cardio remains at 45 minutes fasted. Clen got bumped to 80 micrograms every morning fasted. All of the other stuff, the yohimbine, the carnitine, the SLU, all of that stayed, the reta, all of that stayed standard throughout. So I didn't bump to 10 milligrams of yohimbine or anything of that nature. Those previously mentioned compounds remain the exact same. 18 days in, Clen was at 80 micrograms every day. From day 22 to 28, cardio remains 45 minutes fasted. Clen remains 80 micrograms fasted. Food took a massive reduction. Meal 1 now had 0 carbs. So we took the oats out. We were doing eggs and 300 grams of egg whites. Pre-workout meal remained the same. Post-workout meal, lean meat, 50 grams of carbs from rice, and then it was 0 carb leading into the rest of the day. Rest day, meal 1, 0 carbs. Meal 2, added avocado. That was cool. Meal 3 and 4, 0 carbs. Meal 5, 100 grams of sweet potatoes. During this last 4-day stretch, we also implemented 20 minutes of Stairmaster post-workout, heart rate above 150. My heart rate was 168. Kind of fucking crazy, but hey, got pretty fucking lean. At this point, I noticed, and I'll get into additional peps that I took to help me throughout this. But I did notice that the diet was starting to take away from my main focus, which is coaching. It is making content. It is providing value for you guys and providing value directly to my clientele. I'm doing check-ins every single day of the week. I'm doing a vast majority of check-ins on rest days because I want to be able to work in and out of work blocks without having the gym to go tend to, right? So that's pretty much how I structure my 2 to 3 rest days. Is I'm going to put those rest days where workload is the highest. Pretty much, I just decided that it was time to, again, basically close things out. I was lean enough. My glutes came in. I got some sick content. It was great. And yeah, pretty much from there, the deficit was over. I have to say, this is probably the easiest 15-pound weight loss in such a consolidated 28-day time frame that I've ever had. Main drivers here, obviously the Clen. This is a rather aggressive fat burner. Don't use Clen. Retatrutide, blood sugar stability, appetite control, insulin sensitivity. I mean, guys, the list goes on and on. If you want a video on retatrutide, I can make one, but that's not what this is. Those are the main drivers from a physiological standpoint. From a psychological standpoint, my ability to uphold value, my ability to uphold energy and quality within my clientele came from, I think, majority these peptides. So on my heaviest work days, I would take Semax at, I want to say 500 micrograms. I might be wrong. Let me double check. Okay. Semax at 250 micrograms on heavy work days. This is not something that I would take every single day, but it just really helps the brain fog clear. You're able to focus very well and get a sense of urgency much greater than maybe you should, which is very advantageous, obviously, when I'm going into 5-6 hour blocks of check-ins. Semax was very helpful. The other thing I really found beneficial was NAD+. This literally gave me energy surges throughout my body, right? And I'm on 80 mix of Clen, I'm on 45 minutes of cardio fasted, and my breakfast was 250 calories. Why do I feel like $1,000,000? I'm chopping it up to NAD+. It essentially gives your mitochondria the fuel that it needs to function at an optimal level. Couple that with the slew, with the 5-amino, I was pretty much fucking redlining my mitochondrial health. For health, inflammation reduction, the list goes on and on. Glutathione, 200 milligrams every third day. This is your body's main antioxidant produced by the liver, so supplementing it intramuscular, you can pretty much devise the impact that is going to have. This is also very beneficial for your hair, for your skin, keeping oxidative stress much lower. Overall, just exceptional compounds. Now, I guess to review back on everything that I've talked about, because obviously there's a lot here, right? There's a lot to unpack, which is why I didn't want to get too into the nitty gritty. Being enhanced, going this route, is just vastly different from being natural with the things that you have at your disposal, right? Taking intramuscular injections is not on the table if you're competing in the OCB, right? They'll literally ask you in the polygraph, have you ever used a needle in a performance enhancing manner? So injectable L-carnitine, something that is truthfully very benign, you're not allowed to take if you're an OCB competitor, right? NAD+, something that is exceptional for your mitochondrial health, for your energy levels, for your mental clarity, you're not allowed to take. So I guess to summarize all of this, I had a great time. it was it was exciting, it was fun, and it was something that was needed from an experience standpoint to utilize these different compounds to understand where can I pull value out of the new age lipolytics, the new age fat burners, right? SLU, 5-amino. Um, how do they hold up compared to the other stuff such as Clen, um, Yohimbine, obviously T3, that shit is like more advanced, but I digress. And overall, I feel as though over the last 28 weeks, I have become a better bodybuilder. I've become a more educated coach. And when you're in the weeds on something, you're forced to learn as quickly and as in depth as possible because it is personally applicable. So, overall, I would say my ability to research and understand mechanisms of action of mitochondrial, metabolic, whatever you want to call them, enhancers as a natural versus as somebody who is in the weeds using them on a daily basis, assessing my response is Jurassic. And for that reason alone, I'm very blessed and I'm very happy with my decision to go enhanced. We will probably end the video here. Guys, I'm aware there's probably some details that you wish were included that weren't. There's probably some explanations that I didn't get into. Again, I am trying to unpack basically the last 4 to 5 month period of my life here and share it in the most digestible way possible. But ultimately, there's more to come, right? There's obviously a lot more to unpack about these peptides and things of that nature. There's obviously a lot more to unpack about where I'm actually personally heading in a bodybuilding direction and things of that nature. But I hope you're able to gain some value from this video. Hope you were able to laugh. And yeah, let me know in the comments if you think that there's anything that I missed. If you think there's anything that I glossed over that you would like a deeper explanation on, let me know. And I will sit down and I will make another one of these videos and go into further detail. But the year as a whole, that's my experience. That's what I've utilized. And yeah, I'm excited to keep it pushing.